us now to throw more light on this. Professor Swan Singh, the EAM said that we need better connectivity in the SCO, but not at the cost of sovereignty and territorial integrity. Do you see this as the key issue for the SCO to develop deeper cooperation?
Thank you, Mark. First of all, it is important to underline that the reason India joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization was to have a stronger connectivity with Central Asian republics. Given that India already has had a strong relationship with both Russia and China, so that remains India's focus, and connecting with Central Asia has to go through areas which are a little complicated. So India did, for example, even at Samarkand summit, for example, Prime Minister had underlined the difficulties that India has faced in Pakistan not providing that transit route to Central Asia. And now the EAM also underlined how perhaps we need to work through the Chabahar port and the North-South International Corridor.
Yes.
Of course, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization from the very beginning has seen China wielding unusual influence. And even when Shanghai Cooperation Organization has expanded to have large number of new members, India and Pakistan, potentially Iran, Belarus and others, and also about 9 dialogue partners, special invitees, but China still very often seeks to sort of push its own agenda. And therefore, you see the joint communique saw countries supporting connection of BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, and Eurasia in general in that sense with the Eurasian Economic Corridor. So India, I think, put its point very clearly that India again underlined the fact that some of the projects of Belt and Road Initiative, especially its CPEC and Pakistan Economic Corridor, runs through territory claimed by India, which is, China has always called it, China itself has called it disputed territory. And now how can it call the same territory as China-Pakistan Economic Corridor? It has never explained to either its own people at home or to the external world. And so India did want to underline the fact that, this cannot be a forum to push China's agenda of Belt and Road Initiative, and that the fundamental focus of India remains connecting with the Central Asia, where enormous potential. India has about $120 billion of trade with China, 20 billion with Russia, only $2 billion with Central Asian Republic. So I think that's where both with Russia and Central Asian Republic.
You brought about trade now. Let me ask you about trade. India's total trade with the SCO members is only about $141 billion, what the EAM said. Now, he also talked about potential being manifold. So what do you think is the potential in your opinion? And how will it help develop the economies of the region?
Two things, Mark, to underline. One, that most countries are today working on post-pandemic resilience of their economies. So they are looking at potentially new partners, new paradigms of such partnerships. In that sense, second point is the complementarity of India and the Central Asian republics. India can be an attractive investor, attractive trading partner, and can have a lot of joint projects with some of these countries, and that I think is an advantage India. And in that sense, India wants to focus on Central Asian republics. There was enormous euphoria almost when they became independent about the enormous energy sources that some of these countries have as their reserves. And today, when we are talking of energy being an enormous deficit area, and energy prices fluctuating world over, and India's consumption going up constantly in terms of energy consumption of India, I think that complementarity of India and Central Asia is significant. Plus the fact that India has invested a good amount of money in Chabahar port, and that can be a potential route to then skirt this constant problem of going through Pakistan or Afghanistan. We can have a much stable route through Iran to Central Asia, and we can build that trade ties with these countries. So that the complementarity of these two, India and Central Asian republics, is something that SCO can be a good platform for India to pursue. And that is what was underlined by EM in his speech to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization.
Indeed, but dealing with the issues of food security and energy security, which are key issues, transitions are necessary in the way we behave, in food patterns, in the way we also consume energy. Now, the EAM raised the example of millets, and also let's talk about energy cooperation and consumption that is requiring renewables. Can the SCO provide an opportunity to make this transition? The Prime Minister's call for life, for instance, and the circular economy.
I think you underlined the fact that EA mentioned the millets. In fact, starting with United Nations, millets as another source of food grains has been underlined around the world, and it has enormous, of course, health benefits as well. So that is where I think Central Asia can move beyond just being a kind of hub of energy. It can also move into the food grains area. India also potentially is emerging as an exporter of food. So that kind of complementarity again of areas where India and Central Asian republics can find each other as attractive partners. And I think significant also to underline how many of these Central Asian republics do want to find partnerships beyond their security partnership with Russia and economic partnership with China. So they
Yes.
want to look at other alternatives as countries, and India could be an attractive partner for them, even when they are a little bit sort of cautious of consequences of engaging United States, repercussions with Russia and China for them. India can be an excellent partner for them, and in that sense, the kind of engagement that India has shown with Central Asian republics, with Prime Minister's visit to Samarkand in September, and of course earlier
Right.
his visit to all five countries, that kind of complementarity and the kind of food and fuel shortages that are the challenges now. And of course, the whole debate on decoupling that is also going on, and countries are trying to gradually
Yes.
find alternative places to connect rather than China being sort of country where excessive dependence on manufacturing on China is happening. So, enormous post-pandemic kind of search for
Okay.
alternatives is where I think India can be a potentially attractive destination for Central Asia. And of course, India, as I
Sure.
said, has from the very beginning joined SCO primarily as a platform to connect with Central Asia.
So that's true. I mean, the purpose of SCO is for India is to connect with Central Asia. But final question: we are in the time of a war, and it's affecting the entire world. Can SCO in some way intervene?
I think that if there is any platform that can perhaps engage Russia in the sense of kind of nudging Russia to find an early solution, and we saw Prime Minister used Samarkand summit to communicate his message of
Yes.
this being not the time of war, and that message has reverberated across several countries, and one after another speeches in the United Nations mentioned that. SCO in that sense is an ideal forum. It covers the whole of Eurasia in that sense. It's the largest forum in terms of regional organizations, which is where President Putin was present, and of course
Okay.
this time again, Prime Minister of Russia was present in Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting this week. So I think that's a platform where Russia can be really nudged to find an early solution with Ukraine. And of course, Ukraine can also be constantly be nudged, right? Like Indian
Right.
leaders have been constantly talking to Ukraine as well.
We leave this discussion for the moment.